Welcome to Wine with HR. I'm Jules.
Hey there, I'm Trish.
Lawyers turned HR professionals. Through our company, Monarch Endeavors, we guide employers through their oh shit moments with their employees.
In this podcast, we will discuss some of the most common and commonly frustrating HR problems while enjoying our favorite adult beverage, wine.
So sit back, grab a glass if you choose, and join us as we think about and drink about all things HR.
Welcome to this week's episode of Wine with HR. Now, at this point, you all know that Monarch offers incredible training and growth initiatives for your business and your teams. But what you may not know is that we offer professional coaching too. So a lot of the times we are asked the same questions when it comes to the hows and the whys of coaching. We thought, you know what? Let's bring a guest in and we can give you not only our perspective, but another perspective as well. So our guest today is Dr. Rick Zollinger, MD, aka Doc Z, aka Uncle Rick. I had to throw that in there.
Hi, Uncle Rick.
Hey, Jules, how are you, baby?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, before we introduce you and really give everyone all of the information, we have to talk about our wine. So, Jules, what you drinking?
Well, today I am enjoying a Cabernet Sauvignon from the Boissier collection. So this is another one that Samantha Mercado gave us from Wine and Whiskey.
Hi, Samantha.
So big shout out to her. Yeah. Hey, Samantha. So this one, Trisha, you're going to love it. It's called Eva Luna.
Ooh.
Okay. So like the moon, and it really is. So it is all organic. It is sustainably farmed, no artificial colors, made with organic grapes. And it is, I was going to say brewed, and then I was like, wine.
No.
It's cultivated in connection with the lunar phases. So it says each lunar phase represents the chance to evolve, to move forward in sync with Mother Nature. Eva Luna wines celebrate this balance, honoring our moon's connection to the growing cycles in the vineyard and allowing their natural essence to shine. Blackberry pie, fig, and cocoa aromas lead to a soft and balanced palate with layers of chocolate, tobacco, and hints of vanilla.
Is there such a thing as a soul wine? Because if so,
Right?
I think I've just met mine.
Right. Well, and I thought it fit because we're talking about continuing to evolve through coaching.
Ooh.
So, I figured it was a good one.
Oh,
so
nice.
there we are. I haven't had a sip yet though, so. But I've been letting it aerate for a little while here, so.
I want to talk to the person who wrote that.
Right?
Seriously.
I know, they're a good wordsmith. That is very smooth.
You just need some really nice music in the background.
Oh, we'll have some going. Don't you worry.
I know that.
It is actually a very smooth Cabernet. Sometimes I don't always love Cabernets, but this one is very, very nice. You can definitely taste that blackberry pie.
Nice.
And the tobacco. Okay, so Trish, what are you drinking?
What am I drinking? I actually have no idea what I'm drinking. So you guys know I am always trying to find you the deals. And I, of course, was at Aldi yesterday. And this lovely woman in line had the most beautiful bottle. I've already showed it to you guys, but I will show it to you again. And she said that it was a sparkling rosé. It's hot. That sounds delicious. The bottle's pretty. So it is from the Aldi brand, the Specially Selected. And it's Fleur d'Eau. I can never do my French right. Fleur d'Eau. All my French people don't yell at me. But it's a brut rosé. And Yeah, I'm really liking it because, like I said, it's hot out there today and it's effervescent-y and light. And I could definitely see doing this with the gals on a Sunday. Because I've already had a couple sips.
No.
A couple, the bottle looks suspiciously empty.
Well, okay. Okay. In all fairness, I told Will if he wanted to try some, he'd better get it before we started recording.
Yeah.
I swear.
Likely story.
Doc Z, what are you drinking?
Well, I am drinking a 2024 tart cherry juice from Harris Teeter, where the cherries originate from Michigan.
Yes.
Probably
Yeah,
Traverse City. I don't
nice.
know, but
Probably.
Probably.
it tastes real good, and I got a cute glass. As long as I don't drop it on the carpet, I'm good.
Yeah.
That would not be good. I love it.
Actually,
Yay.
very good, by the way, if anybody likes those kind of things.
I do. Well, when I'm down there.
Well, picking up on the fact that you're an MD, I got to ask you, I've heard that tart cherry juice is good for arthritis. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, it's anti-inflammatory. Yeah, it's supposed to be good for arthritis, for gout, for everything they talk about inflammation. Yeah, so it's supposed to be good. I always tell people the power foods are broccoli and blueberries.
I would like to say that Michigan blueberries are in season, and we bought 30 pounds worth last weekend.
You better start eating that.
Oh, they're in the freezer.
yeah,
We
or
froze
freezing,
most of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
different.
We love them for smoothies, and obviously because we make the dogs food, they go in the dogs' food. And
Okay, well, that's fine. That's good. I'm good with that.
all right. Well, whew, that was good. All right. Before we get into the questions that we have all heard time and time again, I do want to give you a little bit of background on Doc Z. He is a retired cardiac surgeon. He is also an author and a wound care physician. So he is boarded in 3 specialties and has taught wound care nationally. One of his many retirement interests is, and I loved this when I saw what you had written, helping folks find their niches and pursue happiness. Because I think that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
I think if we're not here to be happy, then what is it?
Well, I mean, we'll get into that later, but that's the whole purpose of any job is find your purpose,
Right.
and then
Exactly.
and hopefully you're passionate about your purpose.
I would say we are. What do you think?
No, I
Yes.
think
Yes.
so.
Yes. I would agree.
I would say the
So,
3 of us
Jax-
got it.
Yes. Yeah. So, Jaxie, tell us a little bit more about this evolution of you getting into coaching people. And tell us a little bit more about mymdcoaches.com, which we'll put in the show notes.
Okay. Well, so career 1 ended. I was looking for something to do, and this man came to me and says, well, we're going to start this thing called wound care. And at that time, this was, 17 years ago, it was a brand new thing. And I started doing it. And then because of my background, they had me teach about the blood vessel part of it for people and stuff. So I got into that. I did that for a while, and I taught in Texas. It was kind of fun. Then when I formally retired, I was looking for something to do. And the writing part was always, everybody's always, I'm going to write a book. Yeah, okay, well, so. But now with Amazon, you can do it. Just publish it. Nobody will buy it, but you can publish it. So anyways, with coaching, so literally, I think it was late in the fall, and a buddy of mine who taught with me, who was also that same route. He'd been a surgeon, did wound care, then was retired. But when he was in college, he did a radio show. And so he started doing a podcast for this lady who'd started what was called My MD Coaches, which was her and a person like Chris and him. And he calls me and says, well, you ought to do this and take, what are you doing? I said, well, sounds like fun. It's another way to help people. So you have, I had to take a 6-month course, and you meet every week for like 3 or 4 hours online. And it was taught by a man out of Texas, actually. And I did that. And then I just got more involved with it. It was a lot of fun. And it was right as you're coming out of COVID. So everybody, I'm getting long-winded here, but everybody was, especially physician, nursing wise, were getting, frustrated. So it was a perfect time to kind of come into that venue. And then what's happened as I've gone along, I've engaged with, like, the University of Chapel Hill had a thing non-medically related where I got involved in this group that would meet 2 hours a week for 6 weeks. And that was for in-house people to become coaches and get CME.
Nice.
And I got involved with them. So it was a higher end thing. And I did that for like 4 years. And now everybody's kind of done it. They've run out of steam a little bit. But anyway, so that's how I got involved with it. And now it's grown. The lady who founded it, MyMD Coaches, and it's got a website and all that, is her name's Rhonda Crow, and she was a RN and MBA. And she decided she was fed up with the corporate side. She worked for a company. And so she started this company. And then slowly now she's got about six of us, I guess, that coach. And then somebody like Chris that edits the podcast. And they have 2 podcasts now, and another doctor. So it's evolving, I'm probably I'm just having fun. I'm just doing it for the fun part of being involved with something different. So that's how I got involved with it anyway.
So let me ask you a question for our viewers who may be wondering, viewers, listeners, whatever. Our friends out there. What are you coaching people on? Because most people might assume that it's on health-related things, but
no,
I don't believe that that's true. So tell us a little bit more about what you're coaching them on.
As you guys know, and this would go to the HR side and everything, the whole side of having internal coaching or coaching of any kind is you have to be a great listener, and you have to develop listening skills. And believe me, as a heart surgeon, I had tremendous patience. Not.
And how were your listening skills?
Luckily, I got a couple floors above me. I'd be struck by lightning. Because my father used to say, well, if you have patience, you'll have patience. The two.
Oh,
yeah.
But to answer your question, no, you're not. It's people hitting the wall in terms of career, family. It's not just medical stuff. In fact, it's not really medical. It's more on the coaching medical people. Now, there are people who are looking to transition. And especially now, it's crazy. Somebody will go through a whole bunch of training, come out, and you folks know it would be true in the law practice. They come out and they go, well, this isn't what I want to do. Okay. Well, now what do you want to do? And so you have to have them, help them find what their passion is without being a psychologist or a consultant. That's not what you are. You're there to be a sounding board.
Mm-hmm.
And have you thought about, what do you envision? That kind of thing, and so it's kind of fun that way. I mean, and there's no right or wrong to it. So
I found most people really somewhere in their hearts know the answers. They just need that guidance and that someone who says, believe in yourself. That has been one of the things that I think has been the most interesting to me through my coaching career, is just that most people really do know once they get there. They're like, wow, I've actually known this all along, but because I didn't have the belief or because I didn't have the idea of how to get there or something like that. And it does really help to, as you said, have that sounding board.
Yeah, well, I think that's it in a nutshell. They know deep down and they come to their own. That's the whole thing about that's a successful session or a successful period of time with anybody. If they get to the point and they go, okay, they have their aha moment. They have that shift, they call it. They have the aha moment. They go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Thanks. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So And I think that works across any, doesn't,
Oh,
not medical.
absolutely.
It's just what coaching is.
So, how do you establish trust with an? So, when you're starting to work with someone, and everyone out there, this is not just for Doc Z and his coaches. It's not just for us. It's for all of you. We're talking about how to establish trust with an employee who you are working with, who you are trying to coach.
I would say right off the bat that, first of all, when you start with somebody, you have to kind of establish that your personalities mesh, and that there's not going to be some, and you can probably figure that out in 2 sessions or something with somebody pretty quickly. You have to early on establish what it is it that you want, meaning the client. Have you thought about what your goals out of this is? Your goal? Do you have goals to transition to another employer? Do you have goals to climb the ladder of the hierarchy? Do you have goals to move to Colorado and live in a cabin? What is it that you want? And kind of get a foundation for where you're going from there, and then just let it go where it takes you. It's kind of like writing a novel. There are 2 ways of writing it. You can write like the guy who published like a zillion, where he does a whole edit, he does a whole outline and then writes his books, James Patterson. Or you can write where you just start writing and you go where the characters take you. And I think that's more what coaching is. You start out and you listen, and then you go, well, no. And you may find it takes you to some wild places. So
I'm curious, because one of the things that I find that is different about coaching, but also sometimes challenging about coaching, is that if you don't, as a coach, have a plan or set some of those expectations or boundaries at the beginning, it can easily turn into more of a therapy session where the person is just venting about things about their life when they get there. I don't think coaching should be a long-term thing personally. I think it should be, I mean, it can be a significant amount of time depending what the person's goals are. But as you just said, you got to set some goals. It can't be, I'm just here to listen to you complain about your life and give you some feedback about that. We've got to have a plan. Like, the goal of coaching is to move you forward, to help you find the next thing. And so I feel like sometimes if people don't know what they're, so I guess what I'm getting at, what I would be curious to hear from you is, one, how you approach that with your coaching clients, and 2, what red flags would you say there are for people who are looking for a coach? Because to me, a red flag is if they tell you, we'll just meet, every other week until you don't need me anymore. That's a red flag for me. Like, there should be a process and an end date as a coach, because otherwise it has a tendency to turn into a therapy / vent session versus actually helping them move forward.
Well, I think the point you made right there is right off the bat. Yes, you have to have a coaching so-called contract, and right in the beginning, you have to lay out some ground rules that way, and be clear about, okay, we'll do this for 6 weeks, every week on Thursday at 2. Now, obviously, 6 p.m. If you can't be there, we can adapt. But yes, and I agree with you that you're not looking to be a psychotherapist and be still coaching 9 months from now. Now, that's not to say you can't come back and Jill says, well, I got a different problem 6 months from now. I'd like to, well, okay, fine.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
You can do that. The red flag for me is that somebody wants me to, because of this color hair and stuff, and you're talking to a 40-year-old and they want me to tell them what to do.
Oh. Mm.
Well, do I need to quit and take that job in Toledo? Well, I don't know. That's not life, In other words, but they want you to lay out the groundwork for them. And, it doesn't work that way. And I think that the one thing I think that I find with coaching and with people is that people don't realize that life is a succession of failures that lead to success. It's not, you're not just successful without failing. And there's some stuff I read, and this is unrelated, but you guys can relate to this. When you're talking about the HR and the business and stuff, it sounds like one of the things they need to do in corporate business and corporate HR to allow expansion is to allow people to not always be about salary and climbing the corporate ladder, but maybe learning. Jules learns Trisha's skill and Rick's skill, not necessarily because she's going to move up and become Chris or the VP or whatever, just that she allows her to grow professionally. And then if she transitions in that company, great. If she goes to another company, fine. But she's happy, or he is happy in their situation because they're allowed to grow.
Julie, didn't we have an episode on cross-training and the benefits?
Well,
for those of you who haven't listened, go back and listen.
I've gone off on a tangent there for you, so I'm sorry. But
no, I think that was very important.
I think, like I said, the biggest thing is allowing the people, especially when you talked about the medical people and stuff. Well, I'll give you an example. So one of the problems is when you talk about burnout, and we probably were going to get to that later, but we're talking about burnout and physicians in particular, and that's been a big thing and people talk about. Well, they still loved what they did, but they were passionate about medicine. In other words, they wanted to help people, and they were empathetic people, and that's what they did. And they lost their passion. So part of the deal with being a good coach is bringing back to them, to let them identify that what their true purpose is, what gives them passion. And then they know they work long hours and they work hard and, all that stuff. But you have to bring them back to identify what gives them passion, what gives them a purpose for their career. And what I was going to say earlier was the classic example is nurses. Nurses in nursing as a career. What's so special to me about a nurse, if you're a brain surgeon, you're a brain surgeon, okay? Now, I did transition to being a wound care and then a coach, so you can do it. Life's not one career. But nurses, the cool thing about nursing for people who go into nursing that's spectacular is that you can work in an operating room, you can work in an ER, you can work in a doctor's office, you can work in a gastroenterology, you can work as a drug rep. The world is your oyster if you're a nurse. So it's a cool occupation. But
I love that because I think a lot of people can take that and apply it to the corporate world. There are a lot of positions that, and again, not that nursing is entry level by any means, because good Lord knows I could never do it in a million years. I wish I could, or medicine, period. But if you think about your particular company, speaking to those HR professionals or managers out there, if you think about your company and you think about those positions that are so incredibly crucial to your work environment and how much those allow people to grow out. I worked with a gentleman recently who was telling me that everybody in their business has to, regardless of what they want to do, spend 1 full year in this base position. And it was to learn all of the other areas so that then they can be more successful. And so I think it applies in that same way, as if you have people and you can remind them, okay, listen, you have an opportunity to go X, Y, Z directions in your career or with our company. What is it that you're passionate about? And that would be a wonderful way to start that coaching process if you're doing it internally.
30 years ago, a neighbor told me, he's a business entrepreneur and said, well, the only thing you can give people is more time or more money. I get that to a degree, but I was listening to a TED Talk earlier today. I was going to bring that. It was wonderful. I forget the guy's name. And effectively, what he was saying is even in the fast food industry where, you've got a minimum wage and people work there and people burn out, the average time in a fast food job is 12 months is what he said or something. But he said this one small company had learned to, at the time, they were cross-training their employees who were in those jobs so that they could move into management down the road. Now, that might be like the Chick-fil-A model or something. Because I think
totally sounds like
I had a patient once who was a Chick-fil-A, started at the front desk, and then they trained him, got manager skills, and then eventually they awarded him with a franchise.
Nice.
So I thought, well, that's a good way of advancing somebody. But this guy I heard earlier, and you guys would love this. So on his TED Talk, he said, here's what makes a good job. 4 things. Have you heard this guy talk? I got to look up his name. But it was a 10-minute TED Talk. But what he said was,
you can send it to us later and we'll put it in the notes so that everybody can follow it.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to go. It was on LinkedIn, but it was posted today. But the deal is he said you had to what you consider a good job is you have to be treated fairly. You have to have a promising future. You have to feel psychologically safe in your workplace. And you have to have a sense of purpose and passion for your job. And the one he used, the example he used was a small company in Michigan that started out as a gym. And the guy started this local gym and I think in Grand Rapids area, and the whole dot, and now he's got 36 across Michigan, Indiana, and Canada. And the whole idea was he wanted the people to come and, most gym memberships, as long as they're getting there and they don't let you get out of them, they're getting paid. But what he did was he set it up that he wanted the people to come, and they did better, and the employees would do better if they got the people to participate. They didn't care, because he said everybody comes in. If you come to a gym, you're coming there because you think you don't look good. So he wanted everybody to come in there and know that wasn't a thing. And it was so all the employees have a purpose, anyways. So
I love that. The takeaway for everyone out there is make sure that your employees have a purpose.
Right. Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is challenging when an employer wants to have a coach available for its employees is there's this balance between you want the employee that they have identified as a potential coachee to have the privacy of meeting with the coach. But at the same time, the reason they're being sent to coaching is because something's going on where, again, probably not a performance issue, but where they feel this person isn't quite at the level that they can be. So not should be, can be. So there is sort of this balance where it can be really helpful sometimes to get the feedback from the employer to say like, okay, so what are you seeing? So sometimes it's the way the person relates to somebody else, right? Like maybe they have really great ideas. They're super knowledgeable in their job. They're a great employee, but maybe they don't communicate particularly well. Maybe they're a little bit abrasive. Maybe they're a little bit too shy or like not confident enough in themselves that they speak forcefully or assertively as a leader should. So it's helpful to get that feedback from the employer on what they're seeing so that you can actually help the employee if their goal is to stay in that job at that company. So you can actually help them get to the next level. But it's a balance because it's different. It's not like a typical therapy relationship where everything, you don't sort of get any feedback from another person about what's going on with that person. But I feel as a coach in an employment context, it can be very helpful to hear from other people what they're seeing so that you can actually help the coachee more. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about that, Doxy.
What I was going to say in that whole thought, when you first had that thought, is 2 things. One is, you're very careful there in a work environment. To me, what you're talking about is the cross between coaching and therapy, or in intervention, so to speak, with the anger management or whatever. And the deal is, in all honesty, what I learned with my higher ed group, and I was kind of the outsider because most of them are in the research triangle of North Carolina. So they're Chapel Hill, NC State, Carolina, but there were people from all over the country that were involved in their classes. But there's a hierarchy of who if I coach Jules and Trish is the head of the department, there's a point at which am I responsible to tell Trish, well, Jules kind of went over because she asked for a report on how the coaching is going. So for you as a coachee, there has to be a safe space. And now that the difference in the university setups and stuff, and I don't know about corporate, they're probably workers' laws or something where of course, if I come out and I coach you and you're talking to me that you're going to do something bad, well, then you got to report it. But there are parts there that they were required to bring that up to the boss. And I said, well, that kind of makes it kind of hard to, where do you go with that with something? Because one of the points they brought up is the easiest person to coach is the chairman of the department, the president of the university, because he didn't have any boss. So they kind of opened up, and I'm going, well, okay, well, that makes sense because nobody's going to tell him what's for. But to your point there, I think that's a tough one. It's got to, to me, what do you say? You guys know that's two different things. If you've got somebody that's a fly in the ointment kind of person versus somebody who you are trying to promote, that's two different things to me.
Yes, but it's actually kind of the same solution. So the way that I typically do it is if it is a fly in the ointment, so somebody, let's say, has had some behavioral issues and they have been sent to coaching, then that's going to be one of my first conversations with them is, okay, you were referred here for X reason. Here's what we need to work on. And we would set goals with that. And then I would just periodically check in with the employer to say, have you seen improvement? So I don't share what we talk about specifically during any of the sessions because you have to have that trust. You have to have, like you said, a safe space. So there's still that confidentiality, but you are looking for progress because that's the goal. You are looking for a change in the behavior. Well, it's kind of the same with coaching when it's more, hey, we believe this person could be in our next set of leaders, but here's the things we're seeing that are holding them back. You still have to address those things. So it's like getting that feedback from the employer and then being able to have those conversations with the employee to say, hey, here's the feedback. Let's now figure out how we work on that and how you can maybe present things differently, whatever it is, oftentimes it's that this person doesn't speak with confidence or they seem unsure of themselves or they don't take the lead, because they're fearful that they are going to get it wrong. So those are things you can measure. Those are things that they should be able to see a change. So being able to check back in with the employer, I think is useful, but it's also important because why on earth would an employer pay for coaching if they can't ever get reports or see any change,
sure. Right.
Like that, it's their investment. Right. So they got to be able to see the fruits of their labor, I suppose.
I think the balance there is by explaining to the person that you're coaching what an amazing opportunity this is. Like your employer, your boss, your whomever sees so much value in you and they see that you have this ability to do this type of growth. They believe it. If they didn't believe in you, they wouldn't be paying for it. So while it may hurt to hear that they think you need to be more assertive or that you need to speak this way or that way, always remember at the bottom, here's where it comes from. It comes from a place of good. It comes from a place of wanting you to succeed. And I think that giving them that ahead of time, when you do have to have those more difficult moments in coaching, it can help further that and help you kind of leap over to that next step where you can go, okay, now we have this measurable improvement that we can, give. Everybody feels great, move forward to the next thing.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show.
Dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts. We out.
One of the things you asked me was, did I have a special skill that I used when I had problems or something? Like, it was like self-talk,
Yeah.
I had written, most of those blogs I wrote in that little book that you're talking about, I wrote during COVID. And it was a release for me. And I could write one of those in about 10 or 15 minutes, And the one I wrote was, what was a way you dealt with, self-introspection or mindfulness, so to speak. And the best one I have is if I had, remember, medicine was a practice of medicine. It's not a perfect science. And the key is honesty. So like in my life, I never had any medical legal issues or anything. And the reason I think is that you were always honest with the family and the patient when bad things happen, but you always took an optimistic slant. Well, my point to that was when I would go in the middle of the night and have some horrific case and whatever the outcome was not what I wanted, I would come home at 3 a.m. and you can't just plop down in bed, So you grab the vino of choice. For me, it was Bud Light at that time. You'd sit there in the dark and you systematically go through what would I do differently? What would I improve on? Was there anything I did wrong that I don't want to do again? And you go through them, and it might be a list of anywhere from 4 to 8 things. And you okay, next time I can tell you for a fact there was like an instrument I used at one point. I said, never using that instrument again, never again. But whatever it was, I made an adjustment. And then you get up the next day and you go again. And you've hopefully self-corrected yourself and made an improvement in whatever it is your profession is. You've improved your skill because you went to bed and you never, it's like saying never go to bed without saying, I'm sorry kind of thing. Well, same thing. Never go to bed on a difficult day of work or whatever without going through and saying, what did I do that I could be better at? And then get up the next day and try to do that.
I love that.
And so I think that's a good one for anybody. It doesn't matter what your career is.
Every day is a new day to start over and be the best you can be. Yeah. So the book that Doc Z is referencing, by the way, is Messages from the Heart for Those Who Need It Most. It is his book. That was what he was just referencing when he said, when he was talking about that. So it is available on Amazon, and there will be a link to it in the show notes. My husband and I have it, and we just pick it up and just read a couple and smile and think, yeah, we could use this. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, it's just bedside reading. But the interesting part of that, and then we'll go on with other stuff, is so it's not bringing in the big bucks. I'm not. But the deal is, it goes to the money that comes in. Amazon pays you every month, and then I send that to the Children's Hospital at Chapel Hill in memory of a guy named Eric Montross. And he was from Indianapolis, and he was a 7-foot guy, and he was a basketball player, played on the national championship team, and he died last year at 50, just out of the blue of some kind of strange cancer, here to one day and gone the next. But he would run a Father's Day camp every year, and it was all free for the kids and stuff. So anyways, all that money goes there. So all $10 so far goes there, whatever. But I didn't mean to get that, but every time I think of stuff like that, it gets me a little bit. So
Well, and we hope that more people buy it because now you can get some heartwarming stories and warm up your heart by knowing that the money goes someplace great. Yeah, that's amazing.
It goes good. Doesn't go to my pocket.
But I want to go back to what you were saying, Doxy, though, because I think that's really empowering. Just the mindful sort of meditation at the end of the day about what could I have done differently? Because I do this with people that I coach. So one of the things that I coach usually women on, but it's not confined to women, is how to have a conversation about salary or compensation. So how to negotiate their value, because women tend to be, we don't do it, quite frankly. And it can be really, really emotional and really difficult for people. But I say that, like, we role play before it happens. So yours is a little bit, it's after the fact, like, what could I have done differently? But it's the same principle, because it's a muscle just like anything else. And if you practice it and you go in, like, you role play with me, what you're going to go in and say to your bosses about why you deserve more money or better compensation or whatever it is, then if you do it several times, it's going to feel better when you actually have to do it for real. And I think that that's a really important tool that sometimes people sort of scoff at because it feels silly, like, oh, I'm going to practice with somebody, I'm going to role play this, but it can be really impactful, whether it's before or after, because it's still really before. I'm doing like the Matrix thing here, like entering another dimension, but because it's, even though it might be after what just happened, it's before the next time.
Love it.
It is. It is interesting what you said about practice, because the example I would give is, and I always said I wanted to do one, then I realized, it would be really hard work because they're only about 10 minutes. But you watch any TED Talk and they look like it's just the guy's talking off that guy's given his TED Talk 1,000 times in the shower.
You betcha.
They come out. That thing, it's kind of like Abraham Lincoln giving the Gettysburg Address. It's ingrained on his head and you're not forgetting it. Practice. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that, Jules.
Well, it's like I was listening to an audiobook the other day called Chill and Prosper. I'll put this in the show notes too, which has been it was a great book. But one of the things that she said is, she's another one of those overnight successes that took 20 years to get there.
Yes.
Like, it's the same sort of principle. Like, everybody thinks it was so easy, that it was just so, but usually there was a lot of trial and error. Like you said, I loved the quote you said at the beginning, life is a succession of failures that lead to success. So I think that, like, that's part of coaching too. You gotta be willing to screw up. You gotta be willing to try things that aren't going to work, and then try other things that also may not work. And eventually you'll figure out what works.
Yeah, you got to find your own passion, and the other part is it's an evolution. There's nothing says that the best one is to look at who knows, pick them, Henry Ford or Thomas Edison or some of these famous people that their success came when they were 60, or their success came when they're 70, 50. Everybody thinks, well,
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. What was he? He was like 56 or 60 or something before.
Yeah.
Shot or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. I love him. But
I do too. And he's such a phenomenal actor. You go, how did he just start that? Well, maybe he didn't.
Yeah, maybe he didn't. I mean, yeah. So I agree with you there. But you can always evolve. You can always do something different. You can always do something new. And the other one, when we were talking about, one of the things was on there that we didn't bring up, but how do you deal with burnout? And maybe we did talk about that. And I said, you got to find your passion and all that. But one of the things I thought specifically, now it's hard to do in a lot of professions or careers, but in medicine for my career, that sabbaticals, meaning like every 5th year, you should have 2 months, 3 months off. And by that, I mean, don't go do something in your sphere of expertise. Go work as a docent at the art museum, or try to be a concert pianist for 3 months, whatever. But do something totally out of the blue, and especially the arts, because I got no artistic skill. Trisha's husband does, but I've got no artistic skill. But,
he gets that from your sister.
Sit down, try to learn a piano or the oboe or something. So that to me is one of the good ways. I think people get it is very hard when you're having your kids, And, the classic quote I remember was, when you did what I did, you graduated from college, then you graduated from medical school, then you had to get an internship, then you had to get a residency, then you had to, for me, I had to get another residency, and you had to pass your boards, and then you had to pass another set of boards, and then you got to get a job, and then you're 40, and you got a family, and they're going to school, and you've always had this goal-oriented life, and then you get to be about 42, and you go, is this all there is? You're making a good living and all that kind of stuff, but you're going, you have to have outlets. You have to have outlets. So what does this have anything to do with coaching, though?
Well, it does have a lot to do with coaching, though, because, and this is it, I was going to take that and run with it, because I can tell you for certain that Julie is not only one of my dearest friends, my business partner, but she was also my coach at one point, where I was in a position where I was stuck in a nowhere job, and I was doing, I was just accepting what was handed to me. And I forgot to keep learning. I forgot to discover my passion, all of the things that we are talking about. And as an informal coach, a best friend, what she was doing was guiding me down that same path. And I think that our HR professionals, our managers can do that same thing for their employees. They can say to them, listen, you need to think about what excites you, what brings you joy or passion, and then see if you can, number one, utilize that in some aspect of your job, but also then number two, continue to grow as a human outside of that. And as you grow as a human outside of the workplace, then the impacts in the workplace, this is the whole idea of work-life balance, FYI, right? That's kind of where this is all going to come together. So you are right on topic, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I think you're right about learning in the workplaces, learning other skills, and allowing, if you're the leadership position with your employees, you want to allow them the opportunities to expand their own horizons, not necessarily vertically. Like I said, you're not necessarily going to get
right
2,000 a week instead of 1,000 a week. But you're going to learn how to do this IT job, and you're going to learn how to do this and this and this, because our parents, not your parents, probably your grandparents, but my parents and that generation, everybody went to work for IBM, worked there till they're 65, had a pension, had an IRA or whatever, and retired and got their watch and left. Well, the generation now, my own daughter is an example. She's worked in always going up or sideways or up or whatever, but probably 5 corporate jobs, and she's 40-something. So always enjoying it and having fun. So that's a different mindset. So if you're going to work someplace, you've got to feel like you've gotten some expansion of your skills and stuff that you can take elsewhere if you want.
Yeah. And that's one of the things Tricia and I have talked about on several episodes. I'm combining several of them, but we've talked about how, one of the biggest challenges for employers is retention. It's still pretty much an employee's market, so there's a lot of jobs out there. But it sometimes can be challenging to retain employees when you can't move everybody up, but you can still develop people. So Tricia and I talk about this all the time. Like, just because they can't advance up the ladder doesn't mean that you can't help them develop professionally. So that's part of what this coaching is, being able to offer your employees a coach that can help them acquire new skills, set some goals, maybe get some certifications, go back to school for something that will help them career-wise, whatever it is. That can all be a really great retention tool. And I know Tricia wants to jump in because that's her passion, the retention stuff. So I'm going to let her pick up where I'm stopping.
No, I was really enjoying watching you get excited about it. All right. So yeah, retention. I think that one of the keys to retention is from the get-go helping someone understand that they can grow with you, right? And I think that is the key, that you are willing to invest in their growth. And this isn't, a lot of people say, oh, well, yeah, we'll invest in someone and then they'll leave. Well, that might be okay, actually, because somehow or another, that is going to come back to you. I believe that. I really do. But for retention purposes, I don't think that if you're giving people this kind of training, if you're helping them meet their needs, if you're showing them the growth, if you're showing them that balance that you want to create for that work life so that they don't always have to come home at 3 a.m. and think about it. Maybe they can come home at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., And again, understandably that you can't control, obviously, sometimes a surgery will be 3 hours, sometimes it'll be 15 hours. And I understand that. But I think that the key to retention is letting people know that you care and that you value them and that you are willing to do this whole idea of coaching and growth, that it's not just for you, it is for them. So whether it's growing upwards or outwards, it's going to eventually benefit everyone. It'll benefit the company, it'll benefit your community, and that's overall what we want.
Well, it's what Jules said. If you have coaching for that level of employees, it's a place where they can expand their horizons and their opportunities without feeling beholden to the boss or whatever. It's there with you, and it's a safe space, and you can go, well, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Kind of go and let them do. And it's like you said, they kind of know. They know. I mean, it's that's the heart. Like I said, everybody always goes back to say, what's coaching? You say all coaching is listening. For me, I had to develop this skill, and I'm still working on it. I'll probably have dirt on my head, but I'm still working.
All right. Well, I have a question for you before we wrap up. What is your favorite coaching story so far? And you can change names to protect people's identities, but I want to know what your favorite coaching story is so far.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, man. Long story short, they had a tremendous background and had written, had traveled, had done all these things and felt like they were totally at a crossroads and didn't know what the hell to do or where to go or how to do it. And we kind of went through it, and he kind of came in. And what you said, Jules, it was maybe, over a month and a half. And then he came to this idea, and now I follow him through what he's done. He's written more books. He's developing an invention. I mean, it's amazing to see what he's done, but it's not a funny story or nothing or anything. My mother would have just slapped me for that. Ain't nothing about that. But, something like that where you feel like you have a little bit, if you had somebody, and I can't pull one out of my ear, but if you had somebody like that came along and all of a sudden you realize you kind of feel like you had a little bit of ownership in their success, so to speak, even though you ain't got nothing to do with it.
But you help put them, help push them onto that.
As Trish said from the beginning, you're helping them find the confidence to do what they've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Jules? Give me one.
Well, yeah. So I had two that were similar in that both people were trying to pass a very big to either get so one was a CPA and the other one was an HR certification, and both of them were not great test takers by their own. That's what they thought. They were not great test takers, and they were very intimidated by the tests, and they were really struggling with it. And I helped both of them basically just believe that they could do it. And then when they actually passed those tests, it was just the best feeling, because I knew, like you said, I had a little little bit. I played a little itty bitty part in that, but it was just so rewarding to see to watch somebody achieve something they never thought they could do. And to know that somehow you help them it's just seriously one of the coolest things.
Yeah, it would be, if I could go back and do it again, it would be fun to be a coach. Because if you look at somebody like Nick Saban, who is just such a great coach, it was his whole life, he was always hanging out with 18 to 21-year-olds who always had their future in front of him. And he was helping, and he can look back on somebody like a Shaq or somebody, 30 years later and go, oh, wow, look at all the success this guy's had. Whatever. He used to play ball for me or whatever. I thought, well, that would be a fun career,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think, and this is totally selfish, and you guys are going to giggle because that really is not my personality. But I think one of my absolute favorites is recently I was talking to Will, and I said, this person that I'm working with who is taking some HR certification courses so that she can pass the SHRM exam. And I was talking with her, got her all excited and got her remotivated because she's had some setbacks that had nothing to do with her. And then she and I were just talking generally. And then we hung up the phone and I looked at Will and I said, she thinks that I'm helping her. But the coolest part is that she's also helping me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, one of the coolest moments. Like, I haven't had a lot of those. Like, I think we learn something from everyone that we coach, right? But that was one of those moments where I was like, dang, like she just has some beautiful insight into some other things that I'm interested in. So that the relationship is so mutually beneficial. And I think that that's something that employers kind of forget sometimes, is that they think that all of this stuff, oh, it's going to cost money, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, but they forget that they are getting something out of this as well. And so that is why we spent this time just having a conversation. This is a little different than our normal podcast setup. But the whole idea behind this was to get people's minds moving, to help you think about what can you do in your business, because maybe you can't hire outside for a professional coach, but maybe you as HR or you as managers could do something instead to help grow that or build that for your employees. So I'm hoping that everyone had as much fun and got as much out of this as I did.
Well, I was going to say, let me say one more thing.
Of course. We still have to talk about wine again.
I saw your bottle. It's empty. So,
it totally is.
Yeah.
But her glass isn't yet.
When you talk about the businesses, though, and the ROI on the investment in coaching, I would argue with them that the ROI is that the happy camper increases your production, increases your product, and your bottom line goes up. So,
yep.
You can't look at it as an expense on the CPA's sheet. You've got to look at it as growth in both human resources and financial resources,
which leads to retention.
Let's
go back to that. Yes.
Yes.
That's our second drop the mic moment of this episode.
Yes.
The first one was that quote.
Yeah. Doc Z, how is your tart cherry juice treating ya?
It's pretty good, but it is tart. It's like when you see Snoopy go, "Wah!" At the end of it. It actually tastes pretty good, but usually you got to drink it pretty quickly.
All right, make sure if you see some, you get some more for me. Get some at the house so that when we come down in a couple of weeks, I can try it. I want to try it.
They actually make it in gummies now, which is
do they?
a little more
Well,
tolerable.
it's not,
Yeah.
And the tart cherry juice isn't cheap either.
No. My dad drank it for years because he had arthritis. And he seemed to think it helped. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The deal with that in medicine is if it works for you, it's 100%.
Yep. This is true.
There you go.
All right, Trish, how's your wine? That's almost gone.
I was about to say, as Doc Z generously told everybody, my bottle's empty, but I do still have some in the.
To us.
I did. And again, I will blame that on Will. I think he took more than he was supposed to when he got his portion. But yeah, it's delicious. I'm surprised that I like it as much as I do. Been really disappointed with a lot of the rosés I've had lately. And so maybe this idea of it being like a sparkling rosé just kind of set it apart for me. So Aldi for the win again. You, Jules?
I have to say, I really have enjoyed this wine. I've been
you have
measuring how I have been sipping. Yes, I have been sipping because I wanted to make it last because I used my Coravin. So a little shout out to them. But so that I didn't have to try to get through the bottle in the next week because I just don't see that happening for me this particular week. So, but I really like this Evaluna.
Nice.
I like it indeed. So Samantha Mercado, thank you again for giving me this wine to sample from Wine and Whiskey. We'll put all her info in the show notes as well.
Because we love Samantha and Wine and Whiskey.
We do love Samantha. Yes,
we need to go through a row of wine and grocery store chains, and then you guys can hook them up to be sponsors. Let's bring up Kroger's,
I know.
Harris
Yes.
Teeter, the
Hey,
wine
Kroger.
store.
Yes.
Harris
Hey,
Teeter.
Kroger.
I love it.
All right. Well, Doc Z, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's been great to have you. Any final parting words?
I tell you what, just keep on listening, folks.
Yes.
The more you listen.
Trisha loves that.
Yeah.
Listen.
And the more you listen, think about this. The more you listen, the more you retention.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to say the more.
I don't think that really goes together, but it sounds good.
It sounded good to me. I was thinking if you're listening, you're not talking, and then you may not sound like an uneducated person. I don't want to say an idiot.
That's my hardest part. Stop talking so you can listen.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Z, for all your words of wisdom. And please don't forget to follow us on social media.
And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Cheers.